having now the corona, bunch should help that they should stop the Megafla completely. Betzel Shada Yisloinan. I'm not doing no Maximus Dossi, Alahayab Takboy, who Yatzilcham Pach Yokush, the Deborah boys, but Rosa Yosaklach, the Sacha, Knopa, Yaktax, the Hemis, your Yoimam, Deborah Yach, Kat of Yoshatzerai, Nippamitzit, Kayala, Woman Echalachala Yigash, Lag Ben Echosabit, Shulas to Shom Tirek, Yata, Doinoi Maxi. Elion Sabben Echoloi, Sunelechara, Negala, Yikrava, Malach Vitzabelach, Nashmarcha, Chodrachacha, Akapayim Vizong, Patika Bevan, Aglacha, Ashacha, Pesatido, Yaktima Iskapir, Sanin, Vichosh Balteya, Sakveyo, CHODOSH, Ein Venek, Ima Yonoichi Betzora, the Bansham is with us in the Tzora. Katzeh Havdeyo, Erech Yom Azbeyu, Vareyu B'Shuasi, Kapitel Kuf Chav. 120.
Hang on, Yossi, I'll get it, okay? Yossi, I'll get 120 because it's not from here.
Yeah, it's 120 and
120.
123, 130, and 142.
Yep. Okay. 121 the Rob gave me.
First 120.
Yep. It's not here.
The Chaf speaks about speaking Lashon Hara, not speaking about bad people, bad about people. We know the Beis Mikdash was horrible because of Lashon Hara. So now is the time to do tshuva, and it says Shiram Alois, Eladonoi Batzirosili, Kirasi Vyaneni, answers, Adonai Tzil Nafsh Mismat Sheker, Milshoin Mia, Meidlacha Meoitzelacha, Milshoin Mia, Kitze Gibe Shununim, and Gacha Yisamim, Oyali Gigarti Mesher Shkanti Malikaita, Rabshach Nafshim, Saini Shalom, Ani Shalom, Kedaver Heim, Alim 121. That's a night. Shir Lamalais, Esen Alari Maya Vayazri, Ezri Mimadoinoi, Oise Shuman, Yitin Lamoid Aglach Al Yonam Shemrecha, Hine Leonum Layishon Shoimer Yisrael, Adinoi Shemrecha Doina Tzil Chayad Yibnecha, Yoim Hashemesh Lekek of Yireach Valoi, Adoina Yishmat Seis Chaviyacha, Miata Viadoilam, Kuf Chav Gimel. Shiram Alois, Elechon Asose Naina Yoshi B'Shemayim, Hine Kein Avodim El Adnaim Kein Shibcha Liadgvita, Kein Enein Adonai Elena Achi Chaneinu, we're waiting for you. Chanei Adonai Chaneinu Kerav Savanos, Rabasov Navsheinu, Velaka Shananim, Habuz Gayoinim, 130. Shiram Alois, Mimam Hakim, Gersicha Adonai, Adonai Shema V'Koili, Yenazach Hashuvais L'Kol Tachnunimnfor, Mavoinai Sishmaya, Adonai Miyamoid, Kimcha Slicha L'man Tvarei, Kvis Adonai Kibsa Nafshi, L'Dvarei Cholti, Nafshi Adonai Meshoimrim L'Haboiker, Shoimrim L'Haboiker, Yachei Yisrael Al Adonai, Kim Adonai Chesed V'Arbei Moifidos, V'Yivdes Yisrael, Mikoil Avoinai Sov, Kufman Beis. Maskil David, V'Yosy V'Amoros V'La, Koili El Adonai Azak, Koili El Adonai Eschanan, Eshbrek L'Ponav Sichi, Tzirasi L'Ponav Agid, Yisate V'Rachmatu Tatnis V'Asi V'Ach Z'Malek Tamnu V'Achli, Habei Yominurei V'Eini Makir, Abadunai Sinen Yain Dosh L'Nafshi, Zak L'Chamnoi, Mate Ad Machschel K'Veretz HaChayim, Hakshur HaZikadai Z'Vayt Azem V'Roit V'Yom Tzimani, V'Yitzim HaZganav Shoides As Shemecha, B'Yachtiru Tzadikim, Yisigma Ilalai. I'll just say some Avinu Malkeinus. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Deber V'Cherev V'Rov, Ushvi Mashkes B'Avoy Nishmat Memnei Brisecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Nam Ageifa Minasecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Azrein V'Shvi. Avinu Malkeinu, Shlach Refuah Shleima, L'Choyle Yamecha. So many people are sick now, all over. Avinu Malkeinu Kara, Royak Zardineinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Aselema, Shimcha God Lakim Osh Nikra Leinu. Avinu Malkeinu Chanein Vanein Gein Vanu Masim. Hey, Manazaka Chesed. Achenu Gabezer on Sunim Vesorim Shivya. I'm the baby on baby about Shamakim and Akacin Sorim Laka. Apela Shibuk the Gula. I show a gallows man, Korib, and I'm out of me. Mishivek, I was saying over on Misakak. My shine over the Shlaim. Virape, as Chaim Doiv and Krain, those David Sima. I'm a Tobato, Shom Yosy, and handle Mordechai, Yitzchak ben Hadel Pega, Emram Shleimer, Veshakai, Bas, the Schmitz, Bashkon Columns, Mama Rams, Hasek, Malrach Malayim, Lachlimam, Rapaisam, Yazik, Yeshal Lahem, Hader, for Shemaim, Mishmaim, Makalavarem, Kalkadim. So Shkol Israel was never was a go. Ashwakal was man, Korib, and Aimar, Amen. So we have now, first we had the 3 weeks. Tonight at 8:53 starts the 9 days.
I'll ask the Rav to just hold for one moment till I find the source of the back noise. One moment. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we know that tonight.
Okay, if I'm muting, I'm going to ask all participants, if I mute your phone, please remain muted. Thank you.
Tonight starts the second Madrega of the Avelus. The first was the 3 weeks, and then starts the Avelus of the 9 days. And next week, from the 9 days, is next week from the 9 days is more Chomer Shvuah Shchal B'Tishbav. But we start all our Chumras now from tonight, from 8:53 by Shkia. We start the Chumras of the 9 days. The main thing of the 9 days, and we explained already, that our Avelus is the opposite of the Avelus of parents. When you mabel for your parents, you first you have the Oinen, the day of the Misa, then you have the Shiva, and then you have the Shloshim, and then you have a whole year. We start Menachem Av, is of the Chodesh Av. Rabbi Shem is our father. It's the Avelus we have for the Rabbi Shalom, for the Churban Beis Hamikdash, for the Churban of Kol Yisrael, for the Golus of Kol Yisrael. So we start first with the 3 weeks, which is like all the Avelus of all year. We don't listen to music, we don't make weddings, we don't take haircuts. And then we have the second level, which is more like the Shloshim. And so, and it's more Chumras even. But the main thing is what you're not allowed to do from tonight on. You're not allowed to take a hot shower and hot bath. You're allowed to wash yourself off if you're dirty. If someone feels very schwitzy, you're allowed to wash yourself off. The covered Shabbos, people are schwitzing everything. Here Moshe holds in America, you're allowed to take, you shouldn't take a hot bath, but you're allowed to take hotish, not real boiling hot, hotish shower, and you're allowed to use soap, and you're allowed to use shampoo. But like this, the whole 9 days, except if someone is really sweated up, if someone is really dirty, or if someone needs to take a bath for refuah, you want it, or go swimming for refuah, for refuah, then the halacha is allowed to in the 9 days. But just rechitza is also just to wash your hand and face and legs. You're allowed to wash, but not with hot water. Just lukewarm water you can wash. And but there's isser rechitza, and beside isser rechitza, there's also a skana to go into water. Every year, people go boating in the 9 days. It's a skana to go on water. Someone called me today that they scheduled a vacation for the next week, and they're going. They want to go on boats. So it's a skana to go on water, and the same thing, rechitza for young little children. They're allowed to give them a bath, a shower, but the question is, should they go swimming? So if they go swimming till the age of 9, if they go swimming and if it's not a skana for them, if it's not a deep water, then they could go. But if it's a deep water, shallow water, they could go. But deep water, they shouldn't go. It means besides the isser rechitza, which for young children, there's no isser rechitza, but you're allowed to give a bath for a young child. But there's a skana. Water is a skana, and you have to be careful. The 9 days, anything is skana. Someone called me today about having a root canal done Erev Tisha B'Av. So I said, on the 9 days, you don't do anything that's a skana. It's not a good mazel for Klal Yisrael, and anything that's skana. This person called me to Shaila about I was going to be able to fast on Tisha B'Av. I told him you should change the date anyway. So in 9 days, you have to be very careful not to do anything that's skana. People always ask, are you allowed to go on an airplane? A regular airplane is not such a skana. And nowadays, now with COVID, it might be more of a skana if they don't have the proper distancing, and if you don't wear a mask. But if you're going on an airplane, on a regular airplane, it's not called nowadays a makam skana. And especially if you're going to visit parents or doing mitzvahs, for sure there's not a shaila. But driving wild on the 9 days, it should never drive wild. I think it's bedar, especially in the 9 days. Anything that's going over the speed, doing anything, and the same thing. We have to be very careful with the COVID. We heard that there's some cases in our community now that got corona, and so we have to be very careful. Anything skonadig, you have to be very careful in the 9 days. So the first issue we're talking about is the issue of washing yourself. And we said the Kavod Shabbos, you could wash yourself with soap, and someone who goes to mikveh every week could go to mikveh on Erev Shabbos. I once heard the closing Rebbe speak that people make hot mikvahs. So he said, hot mikvah. He said, only person is allowed to go on hot if someone who's sick. It means you wanted to tell people that you're sick. You're going, he said you can make a mikvah, not shouldn't be so cold, it shouldn't be. But to go enjoy yourself, mikvah, you're not going to enjoy yourself. You're allowed to go to the mitzvah, going to the mikvah. And the same thing, you're allowed to wash yourself with the Kavod Shabbos. The other isser is kibbutz. It's like in the same thing as the shloshim. You're not allowed to do laundry except for young children, that you're allowed to do laundry. But like this, you're not allowed to do laundry. And you're not allowed to give it to a goiter to do laundry in the 9 days. Even if you're not going to put it on until later, you're not allowed to do laundry in the 9 days. And it's starting from tonight. And also, you shouldn't put on anything that's laundered except if it's taking away the freshness, like the wash and wear and things that don't really have stiffness, and you don't feel that you're wearing something new. But if it's wearing with starch and everything, Kavod Shabbos, you could put on a starch shirt. But like this in the 9 days, you shouldn't put on anything new for Shabbos. We pass, you could put on all big day Shabbos. You wear regular big day Shabbos. Washing linen and putting on new linen for Shabbos. So someone who puts on linen every week, look over Shabbos, could put on new linen for Shabbos also. But someone doesn't put on every week should not put on new linen for the Shabbos. If it's not the Shabbos that you should wait till next week. You could do it cover Shabbos. I'm going to speak next week that this year you could do laundry already, Matzah Tisha B'Av, even though usually you wait till Chatzos. This year you could do the laundry. And the same thing, you're not allowed to tailor clothing. You're not allowed to give clothing to the cleaners. Before the 9 days, you could give it to the cleaners. They should be ready for afterwards. But in the 9 days, you're not allowed to give it even to a goyish cleaner. And the 9 days, and all this is not to be Mesiach Das from Avelos, to be Mishtatev in the Tsar of the Shechina, the Tsar of Klal Yisrael, to show that you're B'tzar. I know, when people lose a parent or something, the first week in a shiva or shleishim, they don't want to heter, they don't want anything. Afterwards, so we have to show the Rabbi Shalom we're b'tzar with him. And it says anyone who's mishtatev in the tzar of the Shechina, tzar of the Beis Hamikdash, we're zoicher to see binyona. So the Indian of the 9 days is showing. Sure, it's not so comfortable. You'd rather put on fresh new clothing and buy new clothing. So the halach is you're not allowed to buy new clothing in the 9 days. Anything, not even what you don't make shechianu. Like in the 3 weeks, it's only things that are shechianu. But in the 9 days, any new clothing you can't buy. Someone who doesn't have sneakers for Tisha B'Av, so Moshe has a tshuva, you're allowed to buy sneakers for Tisha B'Av if you need it for Tisha B'Av. But like this, a person shouldn't buy anything new in 9 days. If there's a big sale, then there's a heter. But like a sale, but like this, a person should not go and buy anything new in the 9 days. It's to show the avelus of the even if it's not something that makes you shouldn't buy anything new. The same thing, you shouldn't sew clothing and in the 9 days. You're allowed to sew on a button if it fell off. You're allowed to sew on a button. You're not allowed to go sew clothing to make clothing. And the minhag is that women don't do any knitting, anything in the 9 days because it's days. Because if they stopped at the Yosy and Beis Mikdash, it's day available. So the main thing is rechitza, kibbutz, and haircuts we don't do already, but for the whole 3 weeks we don't do bayos b'nei Ashkenaz. We don't only the other minhag that we have that's more chomer than shloshim and shiva is about meat and wine, because don't should be allowed to eat meat and drink wine, but since the Beis Mikdash was chorev and we don't have the karbonos. So to show that I'm able that we don't have karbonos and we don't have nisach hayayin, we don't have the nisachim. So over here we have a minhag that we don't. The halacha is that you don't in the etzem halacha on Erev Tisha B'Av. I'm going to discuss this next week. On Erev Tisha B'Av, and that's the ikra halacha. Erev Tisha B'Av, you're not allowed to eat meat and wine. But our minhag is that from the beginning of the 9 days, from tonight on, you don't eat any meat or any chicken soup, even if there's no chicken. It means something that was cooked in a fleishig pot, but has no fleishigs in it. You could use in the 9 days, and it means you could if something that has any flavor of chicken or meat, you're not allowed to use in 9 except for Shabbos. Shabbos kodesh. The halach is there's no avelus on Shabbos. Shabbos you could eat meat and everything. Even if Erev Tishbav on Shabbos is you could eat ksuda shleim b'shatay. But like this, so you're not allowed to eat meat and chicken. Someone who's sick and has to eat chicken, so the minhag is till Zayin of, they can eat chicken, but afterwards, the young children, you don't have to machmer any child younger than 9, you don't have to machmer with them, they could eat fleishiks. And even over 9, if they don't like anything else, they just want to eat fleishiks, till Zayin of, till next Tuesday, they could eat chicken and could eat fleishiks. The halacha is that you don't drink wine and or grape juice, anything you don't in the 9 days. Whiskey you're allowed to drink. It's not shouldn't get chicken. This is wine because they had in Beis Hamikdash and Sochem to remember the Churban Beis Hamikdash. So you don't drink wine and except for Shabbos. The question is, what's a Shabbos? If a person by Havdalah, when there's a big inyan, we've spoken already many times, to use wine for Havdalah. So there's no inyan of not using wine. But if you have a child that's not 12 yet, not 13, and a boy and he's over 9, so it's better if he drinks it. But if not, the person could make Havdalah wine. You don't have to worry about it. You can make Havdalah wine. The halacha is that you could continue Shal Shudas, eating fleishiks for Shal Shudas, as long as you didn't have a Ma'ariv, you could still eat fleishiks even late into the night, as long as you didn't have a Ma'ariv. Then there's a halacha by Sudas Mitzvah, you're allowed to eat fleishiks. Moshe by Bris, Pidyon Ben, or a Siyum, you're allowed to eat fleishiks. So the halacha is that, any Siyum that a person makes, then if usually those people he would invite, the halacha is, so those people you could eat fleishiks. And by Brisson, nowadays most people at Brisson don't make fleishiks. But Mikra Din, the halacha is you could serve fleishiks by a bris. And the halacha is that the sandik and the father are allowed to take haircuts to even in the 9 days. I mean, there's a famous story where Rabbi Sher Zechariah Lebrocha was a big askan. He was invited when Begin came to the White House, and Begin Grad was a big thing. He told them in the 9 days he doesn't eat meat. When they served him the state dinner, he said, I can't eat meat at the state dinner. I can only eat fish and not meat. And they invited Rav Sher to come. Rav Sher had his fuzzy from the 3 weeks, so he didn't know what to do. So he went to a gadol. The gadol paskin, you're allowed to shave. You're going to meet malachim. Malachim is someone like that is allowed to shave. But Sher felt funny to do it, so he went and asked someone who had a baby, asked him, make me a sandik. And so he was a sandik. So since he was a sandik, he was allowed to go and shave. So the halach is, so the shaving the whole 3 weeks, and fleishiks by Suez mitzvah light, but like this, we don't eat fleishiks, we don't drink wine. And this year, fleishiks and wine, you're not allowed to eat till Chatzos of Friday. But laundry, we're going to discuss, you're allowed to do already Matzah Tisha B'Av, even take a shower if you don't have time the next day, you could do it. The Rabbi should hope that anyone who is Ma'abel Yerushalayim, and the main thing of Yerushalayim is to do tshuva. And what's the tshuva we're doing with tshuva is that Beis Mikdash is not built yet. The tshuva is that we feel bad that Beis Mikdash is not built. We really have to be bitzar. And if it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Lo l'chol Yerushalayim is meitzah v'doyak. Every Yerushalayim should be meitzah v'doyak on the Churban Beis Mikdash. If someone is not meitzah v'doyak Beis Mikdash, he should be meitzah v'doyak that he's not meitzah v'doyak. Someone who doesn't feel bad that we don't have the Beis Mikdash, is he should do tshuva. He doesn't feel bad. We should feel that we're missing. We should feel that there's, especially now, with the Akicva going around with anything, people couldn't go to shul and closed up and everything. So we feel with the tzara shchina, the Rebbe should help that by keeping the avelos, being mitzara of the avelos, showing them mishtatev in the tzar, the Rebbe should see our tzar. He surely sees our tzar, but he should yishmael tzakasenu, the v'yaras yanyenu. The Rebbe should hear and see our troubles, and the Rebbe should help that we should get out of these sorrows and to make sorrows, the golos that we're in. We should be zoichet koralei that Tishra should become a yontiv, and that's after Chatzos we probably yontiv because we have such betochen, and that's we have a Shabbos Nachmu. We have such betochen. The Rebbe was surely going to take up. I mentioned once I was in Eretz Yisrael when they had an intifada. I was by the Koisel, so someone came over. Ma yiasof, ma yiasof. So I told him, Ani yodei ma yiasof. The sof I know is going to be. The sof is going to be this Gagula. The question is, are we going to be zoichet to the sof? Are we going to be zoichet to see the sof? So we daven the Rosh Hashem Kolam Misaber Shleim Yeh Zoicha V'Lirais. He'll be zoicha b'Binyana. We should all be zoicha by showing that we don't find for loopholes in the 9 days. We show that we want to be mitzar. We'll be zoicha to see the Binyan Beis Hamikdash, V'Beis Hagoyel, V'Heri B'Meinu Amen.
Amen. Shkoyach to Rabbi Lowy. Thank you. If anybody has specific shilas they want to ask the Rav, he's always available to answer questions. The halachas that were mentioned tonight will be posted on the channel. If anybody didn't have a chance to hear them or wants to review them, of course, we'll have that opportunity. The Rav mentioned how we're going to be zoichet to the Gula soon. With that in mind, Yossi, if you can spotlight Rabbi Kwadrat from London, who got up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure if it was for a midnight snack or for Tikkun Chatzos. We've had that debate, but I'm going to read you something from Kankan Journal, which talks about, focuses specifically on Jewish history. It's a time when light reading, as you could see, doesn't weigh too much. But this is the latest journal, volume 2, issue 12. There's different articles in it that maybe you know a little bit about: the cholera versus COVID-19, Helenia Malka, the Jewish convert, the Jewish pirates of the Caribbean. That certainly attracted my eye and my son's eye, and we read that. And Achnasa Sefer Torah from 300 years ago is all written very easy to read. And the good thing about this, I have to tell you, is there's no ads. So reading it on Shabbos really becomes less of an issue. I don't have to have guilty or feelings of yearning that I'm missing out, which tends to happen when I'm reading ads. I'll just read you the forward from Rabbi Kobry, who's one of the sub-editors of this. If you remember, he's a columnist for Mishpacha magazine, and he was one of the editors of Kulmus, Mishpacha from 10 years ago, which was also a quarterly publication and had a historical chapter. But he writes, through our study and practice of halacha and minhag, we relieve the events of Eretz Yisrael of yore, tied to the 3 weeks, and the occurrences of other times and places that find mention the kinnis we recite. But whether during this time of year or any other, it is axiomatic that for the faithful Jew, history is never a dry, abstract study of the past, but a live, dynamic, and deeply relevant. This is a one-of-a-kind journal. He goes on to say how the Jewish reading, bringing the work of new authors, scholars of history all to an appreciative and discerning readership. Rabbi Kwadrat, I'd like to know how a nice Babaver Chassid, born in Antwerp, a graphic designer, got into history. First of all, Shalom Aleichem, good morning, good evening.
Aleichem Shalom, and good evening. How we got into this, that's a good question. I always like to apologize. English not my first language. I'm originally from Belgium and I haven't been taught English. I just picked it up in yeshiva, so I might sometimes find it difficult to express myself.
Akicva, in English it's Belgium.
The English is?
Belgium.
Belgium. So history is something I always liked. I would never consider myself an historian. Until I actually fell into or was dragged into this new habit of researching Jewish history. So, sorry, remind me the question again?
Yeah. First of all, I said good morning. And secondly, yeah. So what was about history that drew you to it?
So it goes back a little bit. About 10 years ago, that would be like 11 years ago, I got dragged into a field called genealogy. And my first production I did was this cipher, Megillas Yartzeit, which I made for the Baba Rebbe. It was my first family tree I produced. And the idea of this family tree is actually what's inside is this family tree.
So you researched all the names and
No, so basically how it happened is, as you mentioned, I'm a graphic designer. So I was trying to digitize this frame. This frame supposedly, apparently, the Baba Rebbe and drew himself. He was an artist. So as a graphic designer, I wanted to sharpen it, make it more clear, have it in the computer. And working it, I started reading the family tree. And I remember when I was young and I read the biography of the Sanzer Rebbe, the family tree starts with the Sanzer, the first name is the Sanzer Rebbe. So I remember that growing up his lineage, I remember reading in a cipher called Rabbi Akudish Mesans that there is another generation up. So I noticed that it could be researched and fill in all the missing information and add the yichus of the Hantige Baba Rebbe. So this dragged me into this genealogy field. While researching genealogy, I noticed, well, if you research genealogy, obviously you have many Sefer Yochsen, but you also have many Sfurim which have biographies on people which are quite unknown. And I have read about so many new chapters of Jewish history, and I haven't heard of these people, and I haven't heard of these historical events which happened. It was like, I've once written, Hitler erased a third of the Jewish nation, but he erased much more of our history. So I started to research genealogy and Jewish history, but I never thought anything else of genealogy. I made this family tree, and doing research, someone approached me to do a biography. He published a cipher, Shaivet Mi Yisroel, from the Maggid of Kremnitz. And he told me he's trying to make a biography to put in the front of the cipher. So if I can help him find information, because he couldn't find much. So I told him, let's see what we can do. And I made the research, and I've seen that whatever can be done, he has found already. So I told him sometimes it'd be a good idea, and I've seen it, to add the short biographies of the people who acted as a maggid before him, the rabbunim of the town, which gives you an idea who he was. Like the saying goes, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. So he told me, okay, so go ahead, do it. So I did the research, and in the town of Kremnitz lived Reb Peisach. Reb Peisach was Reb Shimshon of Kremnitz, was the Rabbi of Kremnitz. He was the grandfather of the famous Reb Shimshon of Ostropolia. And while doing research, I came upon one of the grandfathers of the sons of Rebbe's Rebbetzin, was Reb Shimshon of Zvollen. He was a Talmud of the Kodesh. And the Rebbe of Lublin said that he is an Einikl of the Reb Shimshon of Ostropolis. So I did the research on this Reb Shimshon of Zvollen. And in this Megillas Yashan, it says, okay, not in this one, even in this one, because I found it after Megillas Yashan, he's mentioned merely as Reb Shimshon from Zvollen, and nothing more. So I did research, and suddenly I found out his name was Zucker, Reb Shimshon Zucker, and he was the Rav of Zvollen. He had a father, his father's name, his parents, his wife's name, his in-laws' name, his children. Suddenly I found out a few stories. He was a Talmud of the Kodesh, and then suddenly I took someone who was just a mere name on a family tree, and I got a whole biography of him. So I asked the person who printed the cipher if he can do something with it. It's like a whole interesting article. No, he can't do anything with it. So in Bobov there is a publication called Yartzeit. It's in Yiddish, and I called them up. Listen, I have this article. Are you interested? They said yes. It has to be in Yiddish. I've written it originally in Lushna Kodesh. So I've written this article, and they loved it. So he calls me up. Next issue comes out on Pesach. They want another one. On Pesach, I wrote an article about the Chacham Tzvi. About the Chacham Tzvi, all his travels. Someone once told me that there's so many children of the Chacham Tzvi, but only so much are truly his sons. I have a collection of 29 children, supposedly children of the Chacham Tzvi, but only 16 are true. And from this 16, only 10 survived adulthood. To be able to make the research, I took all the Sfurim from the Chacham Tzvi and from his son Rabbi Yankov, and I made a timeline each year where he was to try to figure out the maximum possible from the Chacham Tzvi. So I had this timeline, and I thought it could be interesting. So I took the timeline and I made like an article out of it. It was a map. The map looked more like a spider web. He traveled all around Europe. And this came out on Pesach. On Matzah Pesach, Benilas Achak, the Baba Rebbe called the editor of the magazine, and he tells him, listen, this Kwadrat writes nicely. He has to write every month in the Yartzeit. So he calls me up. I need another article. I told him, listen, I have 2 articles lying. I'm not writing history. But the Rebbe has, he got to do what he says. So I started writing history. I started doing research, and well, I was dragged into this new thing of researching Jewish history, forgotten chapters. So I wrote like a few years in the Yartzeit, and each article was like 20 pages. It took quite a vast amount of time. Eventually, it came a situation when I told them, listen, I'm putting too much time into it, and I need to go up with the price. And they said they're paying very much, but they can't pay so much. And so it was an issue with the price, and I decided I'm going solo. So the first thing came out was
in Yiddish Kankan. or in English.
This was in Yiddish. And Kankan is Kankan CHODOSH, MOLEH. It's like I can see it's like flipping the screen.
No, we can see it okay. So
that
was the first art. And what was the article on? Your first articles were you reprinted Chacham Tzvi story, or wrote different articles?
So in Yiddish we didn't reprint from Yartzeit. We didn't touch it. Here we have like the first. I have a timeline. You can see a timeline. I have it
Right,
also
it's on in the back of the
back.
magazine.
Yeah,
It
and
has
the
the
English as well.
timeline.
Yes. So here we have the beginning. We have it was on poetry. Afberi is the poet of YASHAN, and we try to show the reader the beauty of the poet. When you open the Machzeh, it's mainly like 2 paragraphs like this. But when you know,
Let me see the Yiddish again. You went a little too quick. What does it say? Geshem is a big thing. We daven Geshem. It's a was willen mir
from Afberi. If you say someone Afberi, they don't even realize Afberi is the name of a Malach. But then here's the whole poet, and you can see the acronym. You can see the Aleph Bais. It's hard for me to show. Afberi Atriach of Yufitz Anan Oiroi. That's a Pusik. That's a Pusik, and the next is each word is Mayim. And here we have the acronym Aleph Lamed Ayin Zayin Reish. This is from the Christian from Bleza Kalir. So I try to bring out the beauty of the poet, we say. This is the first article. Actually, in the book inside is the last. The next we have a discussion.
It looks like you didn't just try. It looks like you succeeded.
The next one we have Sufik Shechiyuni. We know Rosh Hashanah the second night we make a Shechiyuni. But I asked around, as a matter of fact, myself as well, why do we actually make the Shechiyuni? So some would say, well, it's Yom HaRichte, some would say Kedesh Achis, but then again, why do you make if it's a Yom HaRichte, why do you make a Shechiyuni? Don't make. So I'm trying to explain the reasons behind the Sufik Shechiyuni, make a second Shechiyuni the second night of Rosh Hashanah. The next article is
that's a halacha. Why is that historical? Isn't that the grounds for halacha?
Yeah, it's halacha, and we sometimes put in halacha, which is historical. The reason why I put it in here is because I wanted to take the person who likes to read history, and when he's finished, and I see, okay, what else do we have? Enlighten him with halachic themes, which people do, but they don't know what to do. Like we do the Shechiyuni second night of Rosh Hashanah, and we don't really know why we do it. We can throw some words, but if you have to explain it, why exactly you do make the bracha, it's hard to explain. It's actually not because of that. It's only because of Machlokes Rashi and the Rosh. So we added them into the Yiddish in here. The next one is here is a series. We had it in English as well, and it's a history of Kabbalah Shabbos. We all say Kabbalah Shabbos, and
that's from the Arizal, is it not? Or
works out it's not from the Arizal. The Arizal didn't say Kabbalah Shabbos, only a part of it. And in the English one, the first one, we also have it. The history
is the Yiddish a translation of the English by and large? I know you.
Some articles are translations by translators. Some are rewritten entirely, and well, it has been edited because my English is not the best.
Okay,
so,
I want to still get to the website that you have, as well as the upcoming publication and the articles that you have there. Could you take us to an article or story that you wrote regarding the book burning of France? I know that
yes.
We had that discussion about historical accuracy of when it happened, and it is mentioned the Kinnis. I wanted to try to find something that happened during the 3 weeks.
Okay. It is very interesting. This is a Kinnis Charlie Serifa Ba'aish. The Satan Tisha B'Av, and if you open any Machzeh, it will tell you 2 things. The author is the Maram of Rottenburg, and he authored the Kinnis in memory of the Schrijvers Talmud, which happened in Paris. Now, if the Maram Rottenburg authored this Kinnis, is a debate. Rabbi Yankov claims the Kinnis was written much earlier. Although someone showed me an old Machzeh, and I think the Machzeh was written in the times when the Maram Rottenburg was still alive. He's mentioned there as a Birchas Achayim, and it's written over there that the Maharam is the one who authored the Kinnis. So this is one thing we have to know, who authored the Kinnis. But the second thing is, it was not written in memory of the Schrijvers Talmud. I know last year, Pesach, the news were busy with the supposed curse of the Maram Rottenburg that the Notre Dame should be burned in fire. But if someone reads the Kinnis it goes through the Perish HaMeles, you would see that this is not a curse, it's a question the poet asks. Is this what the Torah, why the Torah has been given, so it should be burned in fire? And it's not referring to a Talmud, it's actually referring to the Sefer Torah. He's mentioning over there Gevil, parchment. He's referring there about the Jews who didn't survive a pogrom. He's referring there that all the belongings of the Jews were burned in the middle of the town. And Rabbi Akicva writes that this kinner was written in memory of the Crusade pogrom of the Kehillah of Cologne. So,
does the Art Scroll know about this?
No, they write about.
But you quote your sources, is that correct?
Yes, there's a very one thing I do in the Kankan is everything I bring my source. I don't write anything by myself, and all my writers have the first thing I tell them. I need to have all this, and not just some sources. I need to have reliable sources to know where you're taking information. So what I did is I took the old machzorim, some old machzorim, and there is a machzor from, I don't remember now exactly which one I took, and I read the parish. I read the parish, and you can see from the parishim of.
When you say machzor, do you mean the kinnis?
Old kinnis, or kinnis old machzor. Yeah, some machzorim had the kinnis as well, because it was at a certain time when it was introduced the idea. The Maram Rottenberg wrote this kinnis in memory of the Schreibster Talmud. I think it started with about 200 years ago. Beforehand, no one knows about it. No one knows who wrote it. No one knows why it was written. So I took an earlier machzor and I tried to figure out from the parish Amelis of the skinnet to understand what's going on with this skinnet. And I can see over there he's talking about something completely different. And this brought the idea that Charles Sif Ba'ayish is not a curse and definitely not something about the Schreibster Talmud in Paris. And it could be even more because 40 days earlier there was another Schreif of the Rambam, and we don't hear anyone crying about it. So why the Schreibster Talmud they made such a big deal? Unless they didn't make a big deal of neither of them. It just happened, and there were many Schreibster Talmud, and which happened years later, and we don't mention it anywhere. While the original reason that Charles Sif Weiss was written is about the community of Cologne, which makes much more sense.
Well, that was not far from where he lived.
Cologne is about this area, yes, in the Rhineland area. Cologne is more in Germany, while...
How do you get all those old machzor and old kinnis to do this research? Where do you even find these for?
Well, we have to thank the librarians of the oldest libraries that they have this push to put all the sfurim online, and we have access to many. I have a collection of about 200 sfurim Sedirim in itself, but 200 Sedirim are collected, especially for this series of Kabbalah Shabbos. I tried to figure out exactly when it started, how it started, and how to develop. And I stumbled upon quite a few interesting revelations, which sometimes I always say to understand halacha, sometimes you need to know the history to better have a better understanding what exactly the halacha means.
I want to go quickly through the website because we have Daf Yomi Shir starting shortly. So it's very easy to navigate. You have all the publications available. Yes, right. You're able to see it on the screen. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's crystal clear. Are those US dollar prices, or are they pounds, or they're Canadian dollars?
Well, it depends. If you go from Canada, it's Canadian dollars. If you go from New York, it's New York dollars. If you go from London, it's English pound. So I can see over here, the first time I see it, I can see.
It's like the moon. It's almost like the moon. Viva de Vista.
I can see now that for the first time, I can see actually the Canadian prices. I've never seen it before live.
So it changes. So this is Canadian prices.
Yeah. Yes.
But there is anybody who signs up to watch it here, there's a 10% discount. Is that correct?
Yes.
We discussed that. You have to put in a code. Is that what we said? You have to put in a code when you check out, right?
Code, yes.
So I can tell you can see, as you can see, the graphics are there. If there's teenagers in your life or adults who are interested in history, it's easy reading.
Each
Yes.
issue, you put a story in the back, which is actually quite interesting, either for children to read themselves or even just to read out for the child. It has all the drama inside. So historical stories, and each story has the source.
Right.
Like this one, Chavas Das, the story of the Chavas Das.
And of course, the art is second to none, as you can see, and it adds to it. And there's pictures inside, which makes the history come to life. I want to see if I can get the current issue up so we can discuss what's coming in the next issue. Just bear with me one moment. Yossi, if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, they're welcome to do so.
I'm still very curious to understand how you access this forum. Are all these old Machzorim available online through the?
Yes, they're all not quite a big variety I got from the Library of Bavaria, and quite some are from the National Library at School, and some I got from the Library of Austria, and then from Frankfurt. Quite a few libraries, and they sit over here, sit over there.
Did it ever happen to you that you wrote an article and then somebody brought you a cipher that's relevant to the article?
Yes, I have an article.
Can you tell me a story about that?
Yeah, we have an article about the flying bridge.
A flying bridge.
Flying bridge. The flying bridge is an halacha article. This halacha on Shabbos. Is one allowed to go on a flying bridge on Shabbos?
What is a flying bridge?
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's like a magic carpet.
The better part is that this halacha is mentioned. I think it's Shin Lametes, and in the Shara Teshuvah mentions this shale, and in the new editions of the Shulchan Aruch, it's actually a flying bridge in the air. Geisha haperachas ba'avir. They added the word, I have no idea why, and I had a discussion about this. The flying bridge is basically a bridge which is set on two boats, and it's using the current of the water to move across from one bank to the other bank. So it works only on a river which has a steady, single-sided flow, like the Rhine River, and the bridge is on a boat, and it's bound, connected with a long string to the center of the river, and it's using the rudder to move one end to the other end. And this is shal if one is allowed to go in it on Shabbos.
So it's not crossing the river, it's just taking people downstream.
Yes, it's crossing the river. So there's a question if one is allowed to walk in it on Shabbos. The question is found in Avodah Sagashini, in Shvis Yankiv, and Chavas Yud, all the discussion, and the Shara Tshiva and Shila Mates is bringing this topic up. If one is allowed to go on such a bridge. So I was in the new Shulchan Aruch is in the original source it's Geshe Haperachas, the flying bridge. In the new Shulchan Aruch it's Geshe Haperachas Ba'ave. So I was trying to figure out where this mistake came in. So someone sent me in a first edition of the Shara Teshiva, and I can see over there clearly that the word Ba'ave has been added later by some very clever person, which didn't know exactly what's going on. So someone sent me a photo of this Shara Teshiva. And I also had someone sent me in from the Kabbalah Shabbos series. Someone sent me in a Lechodoidi, which the source is from the Sefer Chemdas Yomim, which might have had edited out some phrase of Lechodoidi to match with the Shapsetzvi movement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we have really 2 minutes, and I want the Rav, of course, to give you a bracha and atzlacha and what you do. This is the new issue that's coming out soon. Jewish Queen of Ethiopia. There is the holy vessels from the Beis Hamikdash. Where are they now? You found out something that we don't know. Is it in the Vatican? Could you tell us that?
Now, these two articles you mentioned, I didn't write myself, but I'll mention something Ruv mentioned before, is the sweet revenge. How did Babylon fall? The Ruv mentioned before that Tisha B'Av is called a moyait. And we know we don't say Tachnun on Tisha B'Av because Tisha B'Av is called a moyait. Now the question is, what exactly do we feast on Tisha B'Av? And obviously, the Ruv said that the moyait is because we hope Mashiach is going to come. But in the Kankan issue 10, that's this one, we wrote an article. Daniel is being sought by whom? Where is he going? And this article is basically the idea to set the date. When was the night which is all known, the Belshazzar's feast, when the night when Babel fell to the Persian Empire. We mentioned it Pesach Banacht, Pesach, that it happened Pesach Banacht. From Chazal in Masechtas Megillah, we can get the idea it actually happened on Rosh Hashanah. But in my article, I bring up the idea that actually it happened Tisha B'Av at night. And this is based on a medrash in Shir HaShirim that on the Shkuvi Balaylos, Bikashti Eis Sha'ar V'Nafshi, I was trying to find whom, and the people were trying to find the Nil. And where's the Nil going? Someone says he went to the fast, and someone says he went to the feast. And I explained this article that it actually happened Tisha B'Av night, which he went to the fast of Belshazzar, and actually he was also going to the feast because of Tisha B'Av night. I make calculations based, it was the 70th anniversary of Malchus Bovel, and the father of Nebuchadnezzar died on Ches Uv. Therefore, Ches Uv at night was the night when Malchus Bovel, 70 years when Malchus Bovel started. Therefore, the Gemara says that when someone sees the fall of the nation of Tarmoid, he should make a feast. Why? Because the Tarmoiduim are the ones who actually helped the enemy destroy the Beis HaMikdash, the first one and the second one. So we see that when the enemy falls, it's a time to feast. Therefore, if the time of Tisha B'Av was also the time when Bovel fell, and it fell to the Persian, so it might be, maybe this could be the idea that actually it's also a time to feast, because the very same day we had the Chorban Beis HaMikdash was the Chorban of Bovel. And in our current edition, we explain how exactly it fell and how we find clues in the prophecies of Yeshaya and Yirmiyah, where they give the details of exactly how Babylon fell to the Persians without a single fire shot.
Wow. Yeshikarech, we're out of time. I'm going to text you a few questions that people have asked me regarding the pandemic. No and we certainly will get to that. But for now, Rabbi Lowy, whether it's history, medicine, politics, the Rav always has the final word. The Rabbi Lowy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rabbi Kwadrat. I want to tell you that our family is above it. My shviger is a shlaf.
Okay.
I remember what you had the yichus from the Baba Rabbi had it hanging in his office. That's what you were.
That's the one I've redid in second edition.
Yeah, and I really enjoy. I would love to listen to you for hours. You know, and hear all the. And really, history is part of halacha, because we know the history of Klal Yisrael. You also first of all, it's part of Avelis. If you know what the history is, you know what to cry about. If you don't know the history, you don't know what to cry about. And that's why we have in Kinnis we have all about Zion. If you want to cry about Zion, you have to know what Zion is. And if you know what Zion is, and I think you bring it out in all your articles, you bring the history of Klal Yisrael, who we are, and what we were, and what we don't have, what we're missing. And that's really what the whole Kinnis is all about. The whole Kinnis is to know what we're missing. And we really, your works, I saw your work, and it's beautiful. And the bunch should give you koyach, and you should be able to continue this, because it's very important for Klal Yisrael. History is not history. History is part of Klal Yisrael. That's why the whole Torah is not a history book, because this is Klal Yisrael. Messiah is part of Klal Yisrael. One should help that you should be able to continue bringing out the Messiah of Klal Yisrael, the Hilchos of Klal Yisrael, what Klal Yisrael, and all the pratim of all our Golosin, like Babylon and all these Golosin. They don't even realize all the Golosin. You should have nachas from your children together with your wife and the whole mishpacha, and you should be zoicha to continue the meifetz your Torah. It's all Torah. All this that you're writing is all Torah. You should be meifetz Torah, marbetz Torah, and be zoicha taka. Together we should be able to go connect Mashiach Tzidkenu b'vinyan beis mikdash b'meir meinu. And Yishkoyach. Thank you very much.
Could you repeat the website, please?
Yeah, the website is Kankan Journal. Kankan Journal. If you plug in for subscription, you will. It'll take you right to the different ones. You can download them in a PDF format or actually get the magazines. Correct?
Yeah.
Right? Kankan Journal, right?
Kankanjournal.com.
Thank you, Yeshikoyach. You can go to sleep. Thank you. I will text you some more questions. Yeshua.
When do you go to sleep? You can continue working on the article for next week.
That's right.
He finished that article already. Okay, Shkoyach, thank you.
Good.
Right,
Thank you.
yes, okay.
Shkoyach.